let's start with the big boy here. Been talking about Apple for quite some time here. The relentless march north continues. Today will be the 11th day in a row where it's made a new all-time high. Nick, how do we play this one?
Well, you know what? I can't. I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. I told you last week. I'm not shorting it via credit call spreads. I did take puts, obviously, totally underwater in those puts, but it was a small position. And what's amazing about Apple is it's like a no breathing, like you said. Green, 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 and I think the expectations. It's been all about iPhones for the last couple of years for Apple, and the iPhone users have been mired in the smaller format for so long. They keep regurgitating 4, 4S, 5, 5S, whatever they're called, and then suddenly two brand new phones that completely look different and a lot bigger, which is the better format in my opinion. And I think people are just gobbling it up. I think they're gonna the numbers on the iPhones are gonna be incredible, and that's what people are expecting. Yeah, I heard the search engine news, but I don't think that was it. They had a debacle in Maps, so it's not necessarily it. They have failed before on some new things, but this new iPhone, I think, is going to be incredible. So I'm not shorting it via credit call spreads at all. And if I wanted to go along it, I mean, at this altitude, I would probably do it in longer distance, like same way I would trade Alibaba for the long term. Either buy it and forget it, or some leaps in the calls, deep in the money calls, or something. This way, you can put them to work by selling some calls against them while you wait.
And there was a shortened week we have with the holiday. Is there any kind of open interest on the weeklies? I know they're a little bit different with the shortened week. Is there anything 120s maybe? Is there any kind of wall here in the open interest in the option market?
There are little walls, but they have been there for the last 3 weeks. So every wall has been demolished, and the shorts keep rolling up and out. So they keep moving the line up. So like yesterday, the line was pretty strong at the 117, and now today the line at 117 has pretty much disappeared and rolled up to a weak 118, weaker 118, and now they're hoping 119, 120 will hold, but the momentum has not stopped. So the open interest data is not useful because I'm not trying to game it that way. I'm just the way it's useful is telling me that the shorts are getting killed and rolling up and out. By that I mean they're holding the line higher and out in time, hoping that this time it'll work, and it hasn't. And it's just in beast mode, and you just cannot argue with that. I made a joke the other day when it had an up week of like 5%, and I said, remember when it was before the split? Somebody said 1111. 1111 is my call on Apple when it was 600 $700 or something, and everybody laughed at him and they said this is the top, and they sold it off. Well, 6 more weeks, we'll be there at 1111. I think 157 area would be that 1111. So it is an incredible beast for such a giant. I mean, it's an incredible beast. I would not short it via credit call spreads, that's for sure. And open interest is not a good indicator at this point.
Okay, Nick, I gotta ask you, how do I play this Twitter? Because it seems to always be at $40. Here we are looking for the last month. This thing is just hugging $40 forever. It's eventually gonna have a move here one way or another, but how are you approaching this Twitter?
Twitter, I'm still of the mind that Twitter is a hold it and a long term, because somebody will figure it out. As I keep telling you, that the idea of such use, I mean, it gets so much use. It's so easy to communicate with the world. If you have a message urgent, it's like 911 on steroids. If you want to say something to the world, you can say it instantaneously, and it doesn't matter if you're one little person or a giant company. You can tell it to the whole world at the same time. That's pretty powerful. There's no way something like that can disappear. So that's why they keep catching these bottoms, well, these drops. And Twitter, I would play it like Apple. I would play it like Alibaba. They're almost sure thing. There's no sure thing, but there's as close a sure thing long term as possible. So if you really like Twitter, I liked it around here, and every time it gets hammered, and the way I would do it, I was just long dated calls or buy the stock and forget it and put it in some account. Like you said, you have many little accounts, one for this, one for that.
Yeah.
This doesn't even qualify as a spec. I mean, I just cannot imagine that the world will let Twitter die. So somebody's going to pick it up. If not Twitter, if they don't get their act together, somebody will pick it up. And so I would go longer dated.
Like how long, Nick? How long?
Well, go into next year's middle of the year, even 2016. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are options out there already for 2016. Why not buy calls? I mean, they sound expensive, but you can put them to work by selling shorter dated calls against them without acquiring much margin.
Okay, that's a strategy. I mean, that consolidation station here at the $40 level. What's also interesting is that this was going back to the prior earnings report. It had a gap, and it went down. It filled that gap by just by the hair of its chinny chin chin. There, you had a 38.92 high before it gapped
True.
up in July, and then you went down to 38.81. So you filled the gap by 11 cents. I mean, that's textbook, and now it's just hanging here. You just kind of feel like if you load up here, it's like either going to be at like 45 or 35. It just cannot stay in this tighter range forever.
That's true, but the only caveat is that the markets are so extended. So if you're subscribed to the fact that we're going to breathe as markets, so it's going to have that weight above it. But so far, the markets have been buy, buy, buy. You know, everybody buying everything.
Yeah.
So even at all-time highs, and they keep saying, you know, money's still on the sideline. If money is on the sideline, who the heck is buying? You know,
Yeah.
we are at all-time. Who got us here? You know, it's somebody. So yeah, it is the range is squeezing. Plus, you mentioned gaps. There's a gap just above, you know, at 45 area. You know, 45 to 47. So if you want to fill that gap, that'd be nice.
What
But
about the March 45s? I was looking at those yesterday. I'm not giving myself enough time there.
March of yeah, I think that's pretty good. I mean, if I'm really bullish, I would buy those, and then I would do a credit put spread in the 30s to finance some of that.
What are
Uh,
those going for, Joel?
They were going for two and change.
The
Like
March 45s.
That's a you know if you buy one contract, that's $200, and that's a good cheap way to go along Twitter. You know,
and
and
then
one
then
contract
what would you do? And then what would you do on the downside?
as a credit put spread,
Yeah.
I I would give it see the most recent low and try to build a buffer that way and see if there's still some premium. There might not be premium. I don't have the chain in front of me, and I'm afraid to mess up my connection with you guys
Okay.
to hunt the chain down. But if I can collect you know a 10% yield on money risks, meaning if the total money I collect equals about 10% of the total risk I lay out in maximum loss, then why not? I mean, 10% return every couple of weeks, that's pretty nice on money risk. So you can do that too. And if you are correct, then you gambled with somebody else's money because the credit put spread brings you money, and if successful, you keep the money, and that would have paid for part of the outlays you put on the call.
Worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario, the price drops, you lose your money on the call, and then you might lose some money on the credit put spread. So it's the same thing. It's just how you lay your risk and what kind of capital you have to have in order to play it.
What else are you playing, Nick? You always got a few good ideas kicking around. I want to pick your brain for some ideas now. Which stocks are you looking at?
Well, I did a whole bunch of reviews for people that have requested stocks from me recently, and you know everything I'm looking at, I'm finding more better ways to play lottos, meaning small cost to bet on some stocks rather than to actually try to go in all in with full positions because we are at such altitudes. I have very little faith in the long scenario on anything almost except for Alibaba perhaps. And so I'm liking to range bound Chipotle, for example, because it seems to be a darling of the street, and they seem to get their act together. They seem to turn excellent comps, incredible comps from a restaurant perspective, and they shrug off all kinds of bad headlines. So I like to range bound Chipotle. You can do iron condors on Chipotle and create some income while you wait to see where the market's going to go. You can build a nice buffer. Like you can put in a credit call spread above 700 on Chipotle and one close to 600, and just wait for time to go by, and probably December contract will work. I don't like jump in long Yahoo. I did. Play a Tesla short that was kind of free. I did an iron condor on Tesla, meaning I brought in income by range bounding Tesla for a couple weeks ago. That brought me money, and with that money, I bought a bearish position in Tesla, which didn't turn out very good, the bearish position itself. However, it was free. So I got out of the bearish position at a profit because it was free. So even though the position itself lost money, but it was financed with free money. So overall, it was a winning position. So I'm kind of sniping positions like that as opposed to laying big longs because we are so high and I have no faith in going a lot higher from here. I would be a very weak hand, and I don't want to get myself in that position. Uh,
Did you use the Adam Jonas downgraded Tesla to get out? I see that it had that dip to the 240 level and came right back, or were you out before that?
no, I was out before that, and I went long it just before that downgrade via a credit put spread, and but it didn't matter because it was pennies. So I can close the whole position now for pennies, and it'll be a total win. So no, I did not use that. I got out before that. And I'm trying to see if it's worth catching Salesforce.com, for example, as a falling knife. But I said I need, a couple more ticks before I can before I can commit to it. So there are a couple of names I'd like to catch, and I looked at J.P. Morgan the other day, and
Oh,
somebody asked about.
that's out of your wheelhouse a little bit there.
I know because they came as requests, but then I started looking at them, and then somebody mentioned gold and said so GLD and SLV, and I'm not a fan of either of those two just because they're kind of manipulated markets because so few hands are in there. So maybe um, longer term, small cost, maybe catching a falling knife, so to speak. So long positions in those might pay out. And so this is what I've been doing. So just a little sniping here and there, and continue to create some income. You got to pay the bills, and but the conviction is not there. So it's really hard to have a long conviction on these names after such big run-ups. So that's what I've been doing.
Okay,
Somebody,
couple stocks coming out of the chat here, and SF Bright TG made a good call yesterday in shares of Triple D. They did an acquisition. The streets seem to like the acquisition. Nice move up yesterday here. Could you pull up Triple D here and see, boy? Dennis, you might define this. This is your initials as well, Dennis. Here, you getting interested in Triple D here, the potential breakout?
I don't trade these guys, but it looks like it's basing and it's putting in some higher lows in the last, I don't know, 5, 6 days. If the stock they made the acquisition and it was a green day for them, if that's the case, it's usually the opposite, right? When somebody
Yep.
buys something. So that's good. If you can rally on bad news, that's a really good base. So yes, if I wanted to go triple D, just based on the technicals, I don't know their fundamentals much. I am making a room for one of their machines in my kitchen. I'm sure of it.
Really?
A few years from now, you're gonna have to put one in your cabinet too.
Really?
That's my take on these things. You can imagine if you break a part, instead of going calling the manufacturer, can you send me that part? And say just download the schematics and print one at home. I think it's a pretty convenient way of doing things as just going forward. If when they get the materials safe and strong, so I think that's where we're headed. So
Wow.
long term, that might be a good play. And it's if you're trying to catch that, and if you track it fundamentally, and if you think it's worthy fundamentally, yeah, I think so. It's worth a shot. Another stock that you guys usually talk about. I didn't catch the show today from the beginning, but GoPro. Um,
Yep.
I think there's money to be made here with a lotto ticket on GoPro. The next couple of bucks are really telling. If it comes down below 70, I think it comes down to 50, 55.
Whoa. So
If
you're looking at the put side.
if it gets back up because it's trading like the channel on the challenge is squeezing, so it's creating some a triangle, and it's I don't buy the story of it being a media company, but yesterday weren't there rumors about
About
it via
Google.
whatever?
Yep, yep. There were rumors about the Googs. They're getting involved with it. What's interesting about this, it has a lot of overhang in it at the $75 level. We have a secondary going on there. Looks like no one wants to touch it there at that secondary. I mean, they might have bring the price down, huh, Dennis? How bad would that be if they had or is the secondary already been issued in the market? Kind of reminds me at FireEye at like 90, 95.
Well, here's the thing with GoPro. You can play it either way. I don't want it to go down. I really have no interest in it. But the only way I would play it is via debit spreads. So the scenario is if it gets to 70, it might see, or a little lower than 70, it might see the mid 50s or low 50s. If it gets to 82, because it's trading the channel and the channel is squeezing, so creating the triangle. So the upper end of that channel would be somewhere around 83, 4, 5. So if it breaks 85, then it could run up to 95, 97, 98. So either cases are available, and I favor the downside more, short of a headline, obviously, of a buyout. So if one wants to gamble and one watches the next couple of dollars in GoPro how it goes, you can gamble either on a run up towards the upper end of the channel, so you buy a debit call spread, and then when it gets there, it's going to leap up, or a breakdown. So flip a coin, spend a few bucks on it. You got your lotto ticket for the week
Uh,
or the couple of weeks.
good point by SF Bright TG. The lockup comes off for the rest of the company in December. We know what happens when some of these stocks when the lockup periods expire. I got one more for you here, Nick. Baidu, Bidu. How's that looking to you?
Baidu. I just asked if somebody's trading Baidu because I have not been. Baidu is at the upper end of the recent, like the last 7 months. It runs up and then meandered a little bit. They tried to sell it off in the middle of October, and then they ran it up with the whole market. So now it's shrugging off another sell-off in the last couple of ticks, back up in the 250s. Fundamentally, I think it's a good company. It's an ADR, obviously, but I can't short this guy. I never short it outright because they can run it up so fast and so long, kind of like the Apple run. So the only way I would do it is I would catch it on sell-offs, and it looks like I may have missed this one, so I will wait for another sell-off before I catch it. Meaning, if they try to sell it off and it drops another $5, $10 from here, then I'll load up on credit put spreads, as long as the market environment allows me, meaning that there's no complete freak out from the whole world about some debacle. Open interest on it is not very heavy, so it doesn't tell me a lot. It has room to stay where it is this week. As far as I look on December, the open interest is a little bit restrictive as of now, but they can change their mind, meaning that it's going to run into resistance here as far as what the market expects, but they can change their mind. That's still, quite a few days out.
Okay, we have Nic Chahine on the line. He's a MarketFi maven and author of Create Income with Option Spreads. He joins us every Tuesday at 8:35, giving us his outlook on the market and the options market. Nick, thanks for joining us as usual. Have a good Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much turkey, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Gobble, gobble.
Okay.